Okay, so Ethan, basically I'm doing a series where I interview a bunch of filmmakers that I respect before filming my upcoming film to soak in as much wisdom as I can. So who are you? What have you made? All that stuff. Give us a short introduction.
Okay. Well, my name is Ethan Stevens. I'm a director, producer, writer, editor. I've pretty much done it all, except for compose, which I'm trying to get into, actually.
Yeah, same.
I act. I've pretty much done like everything across the filmmaking spectrum, and I've directed directed 3 feature films so far.
Nice.
My first, Assassin, released it in 2019. I directed that when I was 19. I directed Not Now when I was 21 in July of 2020. And then recently, in May of this year, I directed Mountain Melancholy. And it's a very experimental kind of improvised. I've really just have done completely out of my comfort zone. And it's kind of weird to consider that as a feature for me. But
is the way that you filmed it much different? Like, is it more like improvised rather than scripted?
Yeah, it's even hard to say like improvised because it's not really like a set story to it. It's just, it's one of those films that just kind of happened, and it's not very like straightforward. So it's weird calling it like one of my features, but it's over 40 minutes, and it's like over 40 minutes and it's a film. So that is my third feature film.
Yeah, so like the last film that you made that's like widely available right now is Not Now. So just like what was the most surprising part of making Not Now, and give us like a bit of what that movie is about.
Yeah. So Not Now is basically kind of based on a true story. It's kind of based on my life in like the service industry, my relationship with college, and then kind of like my relationship with dating in general. And it basically follows an aimless college dropout who works in the service industry, kind of just living life, getting drunk, partying, and falling in love pretty much every weekend with a different girl, and just, head over heels. And he meets this one girl named Summer, who kind of brings him along for a ride. And then he also meets another girl named Autumn through his work. And she kind of is the complete opposite of Summer. And they basically both teach him lessons about dating, life, relationships, and so much more.
Yeah, awesome. So is that like inspired by 500 Days of Summer? It's like the first thing I think of where that has the thing where like there's the main girl that's Summer, and then I think Autumn is like the last girl in that movie who he's like ending up with later. Is that kind of where you got that inspiration from?
It's definitely a reference. Well, I like the name Autumn in general. And then I was thinking, because Summer's character in Not Now is supposed to be like the parody of the Manic Pixie Dream Girl, so I was like, what if her name was Summer? That'd be very like very, very on the nose. And so it was that inspiration from 500 Days of Summer, which I would say is the most, I would say, mainstream inspiration for Not Now.
Yeah, what are the other inspirations?
There's Waiting. It's a movie about the service industry. And even though it's not really like super much like Not Now, it's another movie about like the service industry, which I think is a big part of Not Now's identity. So that was a big inspiration for me. There's another movie out there called Northwood Pie, and it's about these people who work in a pizza place, kind of slice of life, same type, similar character to Noah, and I thought that was very, very similar to Not Now. And so I have that kind of inspiration. And then I just very like small things that I get from other movies. And then most importantly, folk films, movies that are made for the same budget as mine. Those are like my main inspiration. Those are the things that keep me going.
Yeah, awesome. So what was the most surprising thing that you faced while directing Not Now?
There's plenty of them. But I would say one of the most, I would say like the most pleasant surprise for me was the actress who plays Autumn, Neda Ghasemi. She's very, very talented. And it was her very first film in general. She has never acted in a film before. And suddenly she's a lead in a feature film, and she absolutely kills it. And brought a lot to the character. Originally, Summer, her character is Autumn. Originally, Autumn, I had like this different idea of her in her head because she was directly inspired by one girl who left an impact on my life. And as we started filming the movie, I started to realize her personality is much more like someone else who also kind of played an impact in my life. and I thought like, wow, she really added a lot to the film, and I think it's the reason why Not Now is very different from my original vision is in large part because of her.
Okay, so there's a lot of films that try romance, especially like low budget, and it doesn't always work. And I think in Not Now, the main thing that works really well is kind of the chemistry and romance between the characters. As the director, how did you make sure that that worked, you know?
So I got really lucky. The actor for Noah, Landon Brooks, I've worked with him before, and he just naturally has chemistry with every actress that he works with. Pretty much, I've done multiple projects with him. Originally Assassin, he was the lead in Assassin 2, played Parker. Him and the actress for Heather, Micaiah, they both had natural chemistry, and they just get along. Same thing with him in another short film that we did. The lead actress for that, Abigail, them two hit it off instantly. They had great connection. And then also in Not Now, not just with Autumn, with him and Netta, but also with him and Summer, played by Olivia Crowe. He just naturally has chemistry, and it's able to bring that energy onto set, and it also translate really well on camera. So plays a big part of that. And then I also I like to keep the set not super serious, super lighthearted. We're making a movie, we're having fun, we enjoy what we're doing, and I think that kind of promotes everyone to be a little bit more closer, a little bit more friendly, more than just we're making a movie here, but we're making movie with people that we like.
Awesome. Yeah, so is a large part of you choosing your cast and crew just based on who you want to spend time with as well as their skill?
Yeah, because if I'm being honest, one of my problems whenever I was doing my short film phase, I would say like end of high school, my first year or two of college, my main problem was unreliable actors and people that I just didn't get along with on set. It wasn't that their acting ability was the problem. It was just like, I don't know if I could rely on them, or they bring a negative energy to set. I remember like one day, they just started smoking weed on set. I was like, what's going on? Like I was like, I can't believe this is actually happening right now. Like, are you serious? And I just have problems with that, and it just, it ruins the vibe on set. Especially when our people like kind of have like an attitude with me as the director, or attitude with other people. I definitely like to try and avoid that.
Yeah, for sure. And because you're working with so many people, surely once in a while you do pick the wrong person. You pick someone who does kind of bring a negative energy onto the set. Did you have any experiences like that? And how did you confront that?
Yeah, so I've had experience with that. Mostly when I was making short films, like I said, with the guy just like doing drugs on set.
Yeah.
Like, okay, like you do you, but we're trying to make a movie here. Usually, at that period of my life, I was very non-confrontational, so I didn't really say anything. But now I'd probably be like, hey, no, it's not gonna happen. I'll replace you if I have to. If we're not gonna, keep up the set energy that we're supposed to. And then also I just don't work with them again.
I think because you've directed a bunch of features now, I think you probably have the confidence where you're like, no, I've done this before, I know how to do certain things, and that allows you to be a bit more like you can confront the people a bit more.
Yeah, definitely. My confidence as a director has gone up a lot. I think whenever I was Assassin, I was a little bit hands-on, just because it was my first feature, and I was very because I was such non-confident in my directing skills, I paid way more attention to what I was doing, just because I was really nervous. But now I think I would say in between Assassin and Not Now, when I was working on various other projects, I was very lax and just let the actors kind of do whatever they want, or the crew members to do whatever they want, because I was too afraid of conflicting with other people. Not Now, I kind of started developing my directing style more and understanding what I want, but then also understanding the importance of collaboration. And I think now going forward, I'm very much, if I want something, it's gonna be I'm gonna have it. We're gonna redo the takes as many times until I get it how I want. But I'm also very open to collaboration. I think that's a crazy, crucial part of filmmaking, is the collaboration aspect. So I'm also really open to that. So it's just this battle for me between understanding like outside perspectives, but also like maintaining my own vision.
For sure. And there's been a huge quality jump, for me at least, when I watch Assassin and I watch Not Now.
Oh,
For
yeah.
you, like, what are you happy with that quality jump? Are you excited thinking that there's going to be like a similar like jump moving forward in each of your features? And does that like sense of improvement excite you?
Yeah, that's one of the driving factors behind me, is because, even when I was making Not Now, I was kind of embarrassed to show Assassin. I'm so proud of the work that I did, and especially at such a young age with such a low budget. I'm never gonna hate on Assassin ever, but I wouldn't really want people to watch it that often. Like, I wouldn't recommend Assassin anymore. If I say someone, I want someone to watch like a film of mine, I'm gonna recommend Not Now. But even right now, Not Now is starting to, I could have done things better, or I know I can do better, and I'm ready to start doing better. So I want to get my next film out there as soon as possible, because I want to show what I can do, show my improvement. I think that's like
for sure. Like, once you make something, you've spent so much time making it, and you've learned the lessons when you release it, I feel like, and you just want to make something else that's even better because you know you have it within you, and that's kind of what drives us forward, I think, to like always prove ourselves and keep on continuously improving, because we always learn things from our projects. So yeah, definitely. So the character of Not Now is quite unlikable, I think, and a lot of people have been saying that, and I was wondering if that's like an intentional choice on your part. There's been some criticisms about that, and I personally really enjoyed the like unlikable nature of it, but just go through your reasonings behind that. And was it vulnerable to share like so much about yourself, and it's like open up to criticism,
Yeah, so I definitely it was intentional, but I don't think I delivered it perfectly. I think Joel Haver, in his review of Not Now, I think he put it best, is that I should have still sprinkled in some moments of empathy and sympathy for Noah. Instead, for the heart of the movie for me was always Autumn and Max, not in like their relationship, but just their characters. I think Max is probably my favorite character in the film, even though he's technically like the antagonist. He's really like the voice of reason there, because I feel like everyone is kind of like going off in their own ways. But I also think Autumn is the heart of the movie for me in her own way. But maybe that's just how I see it, because, she's based on a person that I know.
Yeah, for sure. Was it scary to kind of like write something that was so vulnerable?
Yeah, it's, I wouldn't say scary when I was writing it, but whenever I was editing it, I would say there's some moments in there that I kind of like directly reference people. And I've definitely had to like cut some stuff out because it was a little too on the nose, and it's like I don't know if I'm ready to like share my emotions or feelings about this person, or I don't want them to know, they're gonna see it and be like, oh, did Ethan make a movie about me? But I think I've kind of come to peace with it. But especially with the character of Noah, he's very much I guess to say the reason why he's like so unlikable is because that's how I saw myself. I'm not a big fan of how I acted. And I want to be like a better person, and I think that if I displayed Noah as this like easily sympathetic, everybody likes him type, I feel like it'd be disingenuous to the improvement that I wanted to see in myself.
Yeah, so is that Noah character and like not giving him some moments of empathy, the biggest lesson that you may have learned from Not Now, or was there like a bigger lesson that you learned from the project?
I think story-wise, that is probably like one of the bigger lessons that I've learned. Just because, but I don't know if in the future I'm going to continue like, playing with that unlikable, like hard to sympathize with main character. I experimented it with Not Now, but I think going forward I don't really have any ideas that like have like a similar main character. But that's definitely a lesson I learned. Filmmaking wise, audio is becoming like a big thing for me. I feel like the audio from like Assassin to Not Now was like the thing that didn't really improve that much. And I think it's because of the boom mic that I used, the DADS mic 2, I just picked up a lot of background noise, and I think I didn't really get that on my Rode NTG2. That's what I record most of my projects on, and I think this Not Now is my first project that I recorded with the DADS mic 2, and it really didn't deliver like I wanted it to, like it was hyped up to be in like certain reviews. And then also I think a lot of the locations that we shot in were very noisy, especially like in the restaurants. That was a big part, was in the restaurants. It was very, it was pretty noisy in there, and I didn't really know how to record the audio in the best way possible. I also think I wasn't fully experienced with ADR editing, not now, and I feel like that definitely like hurt a few scenes, especially recording ADR. Just like listening back when I was in the editing bay, I was like, this does not sound like we recorded this on set. It sounds like we recorded this in my closet, which we did. So I think those are like some lessons. That's probably like the biggest lesson that I learned, filmmaking wise.
Yeah, that's great. Like, it seems like you learn to lesson in every stage of the filmmaking process, which I find really cool. So there's like, what stage of the filmmaking process do you like the most? Like writing, production, post-production? Which one is like, gets you the most excited when thinking about a project?
Honestly, the writing process is pretty exciting for me, and that's what I'm in right now for Adrenaline, my next feature. And it's just like coming up with these ideas and coming up with a story. But at the same time, I feel like production and post-production are just as equally interesting to me because, I love being on set. I can't, like, being on set is like a vacation for me, even though it's technically work. I absolutely love being on set. And especially, I always take like a week or two off to film my features. I'm going to do the same thing with Adrenaline. And it's just, I love being on set. I love, making things happen. I love, having a scene come out exactly how I pictured, or comes out not how I pictured, but even better than expected. I love when that happens, and that's the magic of production. Then you get to post-production, and it's putting everything together, and it's the most rewarding part of the stage for me, the filmmaking process, because you get to see like your work come together, and you finally get to see the story come together, and you start to feel the emotions, and kind of see how the audience sees it. And I think that's another big thing for me. So they're all equally rewarding.
Yeah, for sure. For me personally, when I'm in a particular stage, suppose like I'm writing right now, the most exciting stage will be the next stage. So like when I'm writing, production is gonna like sound so amazing. In production, editing, best thing ever. While you're editing, it can get pretty like, while you're like in the trenches of editing, it can get pretty repetitive, pretty monotonous. Even though it is very rewarding to finally see it come together. Then the writing sounds amazing because it's like developing something all new, So I love how it's like every stage is so different, and like it's like a mint. It like refreshes you from the last stage. Yeah. So
filmmaking.
Yeah. What was the worst day on set?
The worst day on set. Honestly, for not now, I don't think we really had a bad day.
Damn, you were
really
one lucky person, man.
Assassin, I've had like half of it was bad days, if I'm being honest. But with Not Now, like we had like a pretty good. I would say like the worst day on set would be the reshoots that we did this summer. So it was like a year after, and that was just because we haven't seen each other in a year, or I've seen like some of the actors every here and there, film festivals or doing different projects. But like for the most, we haven't come together in so long. It's been a year later we come together, and we were missing Daniel, the actor for Max. He wasn't on set, so it kind of like the energy wasn't completely there, and I think it was like a little sad because and we also were missing our audio supervisor, Jimena. So not having them two on set, we didn't get the same energy that we captured last summer. So yeah, I guess I'd say that's the worst day on set, but honestly, in general, it was a pretty good time. I planned it out pretty well beforehand. We didn't have things go crazy like the day of on set, for the most part. And a lot of the things that happened that were accidents or mistakes, you would say, turned out better than original. So can't complain about that.
So like, what's your approach to like planning out? Are you a storyboard guy? What type of like pre-production person are you?
I'm a think about it all day, every day type. I was just at work today, and it was literally I write down like any idea that I have. I think about it, pops into my head, I write it down, and I do everything pretty much in my head when it comes to planning. And then if it's something that I know I'm gonna forget or I can possibly forget, I'll write it down. So I've never storyboarded before. I don't think I'll ever be capable of storyboarding ever. So, but my cinematographer Mason Haggerty, he'll storyboard generally. So I have him to kind of balance me out. But for the most part, it's just like a lot of thinking in my head, writing it down. And if there's some scenes that I'm just like, maybe I'll just leave it like to be on set, and I won't plan it out, and we'll get on set and we'll make magic happen. That's kind of what happened for like, I'd say like 20% of Not Now. I didn't really plan it out, and we just kind of, just had the script. Or there's like one scene, the one on campus, where they were walking around A&M campus, completely improvised.
Awesome.
Stuff like that. So it's a mixture of both.
Yeah. So have you noticed, now that you've directed like a few things and you have like probably dozens of ideas in your head, so like what are some stylistic similarities that you've noticed between your work?
I would definitely say, so I'm also going to include, so right now I'm working on Adrenaline, but I've filmed about 25% of Adrenaline in the past. So I'm going to include like the stylistic similarities in that too. And Assassin, I really didn't have a lot of camera movement. And that was like one of the big things that I learned is, incorporate camera movement into my future films. And Adrenaline and Not Now, I started to use push in. I just love pushing in. Especially like just handheld movement, pushing in. I think that's like kind of like my style, camera movement wise. I like lens flares a lot.
Yeah.
And then I like colorful lighting. I like bold colors. I don't think I'll ever be able to like, even if it fits like the story, like I don't even know if I'll ever fit something that's very like flat or dry. Because even though that kind of like assists certain stories, like I feel like certain stories need to have that like flat color profile. I don't think that would ever fit like my visual style ever. So I just like really like bold, bright colors.
Yeah.
Especially like just looking at the footage, the old footage of Adrenaline, it's very like visceral, it's very bold, there's silhouettes, and that's just exactly what I like.
Party scenes,
yeah. There's a party scene in every single one of my films, no matter what. There has to be.
Yeah, I love how you open with the party scenes, because especially with folk films, normally it's like very small, but when you open with the party scene, you're like, okay, I'm watching like there's a whole like bunch of people that have worked on this. It's fairly big, and it's like puts you in a different sphere, I think, subconsciously. So I think it's very smart.
Yeah, I love party scenes. I love like opening with the bang, and I feel like a party scene or a fight scene or something like that, something to really grab the attention. I think is like one of those things that are a big part of my style.
Yeah, awesome. What does your editing process look like?
Very sporadic. Usually whenever I edit, well, right after we film, I'm editing a bunch. Like for the first like week afterwards, I'm editing like every day, all day, every day. I'm excited to get everything together, and then I'll be burnt out for a second. I'll take a break, and then I'll go back to like that sporadic editing a bunch. So it's really inconsistent. I'll stop editing for like 2 months at a time, and then for a week straight, editing all day, every day. Towards the end is when I really started getting consistent, because I set like a summer deadline for myself for Not Now. So it was around like end of July, beginning of August that I was just, I woke up in the morning and I just go straight to the editing bay.
Amazing. So is that your personality type in general with like writing as well, where you do a lot of work, give yourself a week off, and then do a lot of work? Is that like, because I know I have periods like that as well in general, where I'm just more productive sometimes, and then sometimes my productivity just drops. So are you like that as well?
Yeah. For me, it's a lot of passion switching, I would say. I'm always passionate about something at some point in my life. Recently, I've been really passionate about like going out and drinking.
Awesome.
Yeah, I mean that's just how. But then, and then now it's kind of like playing volleyball. I love being active in general. Really into sports. So I've been playing volleyball like every night, like past like couple weeks. Not every night, but pretty close to it. And then there'll be times that I just like focus specifically on filmmaking and watching movies and that kind of stuff. I don't think I've watched a movie in like 3 weeks or 4 weeks. That's how my passions just really switch up.
Yeah, I think that's
Very
great
sporadic.
because it's easy for if you're like stuck in filmmaking for everything you write about and like make slowly becomes about filmmaking, and like when you don't actually like have other interests, it can be kind of dangerous, I think, and
Yeah.
can become quite unrelatable to someone who isn't a filmmaker.
Yeah. But also, I feel like there's enough of an audience of just straight up filmmakers and movie lovers enough to like keep filmmakers. But obviously, not all of us filmmakers could just cater to just filmmakers. To
Yeah.
cater to others. Like I would love to see like NFL movies, football movies, like a good one, like a really good one. Like I would love to see that, even though not just because I'm a movie fan, but because I also like football or even like a volleyball movie, or
Yeah.
even like College Station, something set in College Station. I would love to see that.
Yeah. So like would you make one?
Actually for a football movie, I have like a pretty like solid idea, but it would cost a lot of money.
Yeah.
And you have to get. There's a movie called Draft Day, and it's like the first movie I've ever seen with like rights to NFL teams. I was like, wow, this is really cool. Like imagine like making like an NFL movie. And I have this idea called The Rookie, and it's about like a rookie quarterback who tries to work his way up, starting from the very bottom. And I think it's I feel like you could take advantage of like the natural action of, American football and really make like something like exciting and visceral and really intense. And I would love to see that be made to where like they really make like they really capture like the excitement of sports in general, not just
Sports
American
is
football.
really like filmed like very like in a boring way. I've just realized while talking to you, like it's like that we don't see like cool shots of like visceral shots of sports, I think. So that's definitely untapped potential.
Like I just like imagine like a sports scene, just like a one take, like a 3-minute one take of like a 2-minute drill.
Yeah.
You have 2 minutes to like get the ball down the field, film that in like a sprawling one take. That would be absolutely amazing. I think the closest I've seen, there's a movie called The Secret in Their Eyes that won Best Foreign Language Film back in like 2011, around that time. And it has like this one take in a soccer stadium, and I was like, this is really exciting. But they don't really focus on the sports; they focus on like the mystery investigation part of it. But it's still like that feeling. I was like, wow, I'm really feeling something here.
Yeah.
Imagine if you translate that to like a sports film. That would be awesome.
Yeah. So, what's like your dream project like that? Where, if Hollywood came to you, like up to $100 million budget, what would you go for?
Yeah. I think right now I would go for that idea that I had, The Rookie. And honestly, like I feel like it could be a trilogy of like, 3 different parts of his life. The middle of his career and then the end of his career, and kind of like, different themes. It'd really be about like kind of like masculinity, fatherhood, relationship with your father, not just like, being a father to a son. I feel like that's like one of my dream projects. Another one, a speech and debate series. I was a speech and debate captain back in high school, and I feel like there's like a lot of untapped potential in speech and debate tournaments. I feel like there's like a lot of great stories to be picked apart from that. That would be like kind of like a high school type series. Similar, say like the best comparison is Glee, without the singing and maybe a little bit more serious.
Yeah,
And then,
interesting.
But Glee's a pretty serious series at the same time. I think my dream project would be a space movie.
Awesome. Yeah, we're both like interstellar fanatics, so I think we should discuss this.
Yes. Yes, the best movie of all time.
Yeah, it's my like it's like in my top 3. It like keeps switching between my favorite, but yeah, man, that like no movie has given me the emotional response as like Interstellar did,
Yeah, it's hard for me to watch Interstellar just because like I don't ever want to get bored of it, so it's like I want to preserve it as much as possible and even try and like forget about it at times so I can watch it like anew again. Honestly, like if I could wipe my brain, I would use it to rewatch Interstellar in IMAX, which I've seen it twice in IMAX. During the pandemic, it came out in theaters for a limited release in IMAX. The IMAX theater, there's only one IMAX theater in College Station, here in College Station, and it was showing Interstellar. I was like, I can't believe this is happening. I go in there, I was really the only person in the theater. I'm just sitting back,
Damn.
just drinking a beer, watching my favorite movie of all time in IMAX, finally. because I've only seen it like at home.
Yeah,
I've never
same.
been able to see it in the theater.
I've never watched it in the theater.
Yeah, and it was an amazing experience.
For sure.
What's crazy, the first time I watched Interstellar, I wasn't even paying attention. Like, I wouldn't even say I watched it. It was playing in my science classroom when I was on my phone the entire time.
Exactly the same. Like, I think we have, like, the exact same story with Interstellar. I had, like, this science teacher that was obsessed with Interstellar, and, like, just a bunch of, like, other movies, but most of the other movies were, like, really bad. And then once he showed Interstellar, I'm like, okay, this is gonna be another terrible movie. Wasn't really in the know that Nolan directed this. And then I watched it again a few years later, and I was like,
yeah. For me, it was like the only time I started paying attention was a scene with the docking scene.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh wow, this is pretty lit. I'm gonna go watch this at home. So like I didn't pay attention for the rest of the class because I didn't want to get spoiled. I go home and watch it. And I was like, this is the best movie I've ever seen in my entire life. Like I can't believe like I was just like wasting my time in class when I could have been watching this amazing movie. And then I fell in love with it. I rewatched it like literally right after. Like I watched it, and the next day I rewatched it.
Yeah, amazing. Okay, let's get back to like the filmmaking process. So do you show people your rough cuts?
Only, I would say, my two closest collaborators, Mason, my cinematographer, and then Jesse, he's my producer, but he's just my filmmaking buddy in general. I always show them the rough cuts. They're the first person to really see it. And then anyone else who's worked on the project, I'll show them if they ever come around to like my house for some reason. And my friends, like my close friends, my roommates, the people that I live with now, they were like one of the first people to see Not Now.
Yeah, okay, awesome. So what's like your approach to handling like the criticism and all that? Do you listen to like, do you read reviews and everything, or do you just kind of ignore that stuff?
Back in the day, I was not really receptive to criticism because it was basically based on like insecurity of my journey as a filmmaker. I was kind of like, I feel like I should have done better, and whenever someone points out those mistakes, it would just like kind of hurt me. But now I'm a lot less sensitive and a lot more receptive, and I love constructive criticism. Honestly, I encourage like anybody who can to review my movie, even if it's terrible. There's like a 1-star review on Not Now that's really pretty popular from an account called Joker Pilled. But I was like I took the criticism, even though like I kind of there's some like interpersonal beliefs that I think we disagree on. I still see it as this is still an audience member, and they're still viewing my movie. How can I make it to where in the future I don't have those problems that I see in that review? And I read every review multiple times, and I always try to take something from it, something that I can improve on, because that's what it really is for me, is getting better. That's how I am as a person. Like I want to be the best at everything I do, and so I'm always open to criticism.
Yeah, I have a pretty similar approach where I think that a 1-star review of a movie that I make right now is like so much better than just that person not watching the movie at all. And it's even better if I make like a movie that's worthy of 1 stars at this age, rather than me like just not making any movie at all, right? So even a 1-star review, I look at it as like an achievement, Yeah. For sure.
No, honestly, I feel the same way. I wouldn't know how I would feel if I was making 5-star. If Assassin was a 5-star movie, I would just be like, where do I go from here? Like I just made the best movie like I could possibly make. And so that's why I personally rate each of my films. Assassin, I rated like a 3-star. Like that was my honest opinion of Assassin. I thought it was a 3-star movie. Not Now, I still have to rewatch it because I haven't watched it since it's been released. And I'm kind of scared to watch it because that those feelings start to hit again, that vulnerability. But I think I'm gonna watch it soon with a friend of mine because they've been wanting to see it. I was like, I think we'll watch it and I'll finally like open myself up and see how I feel about the film.
Awesome. So what's your approach to marketing the film? Because I know you have like an Instagram page dedicated to Not Now. That's how I found your work, I think.
Oh wow.
So
hey, it works.
Yeah.
But, marketing wise, I really like to be involved in the community. Folk filmmaking community is a big part in promoting Not Now, because at least with Assassin, there was a lot of people who worked on the project, and it's a very interesting concept. And I think that's what carried Assassin to get into a lot of people's like YouTube inboxes. So the trailer, popped off a little bit, and it got a lot of shares, and a lot of people in the cast were sharing it. And that's how it got a majority of its views. Is just like from shares from the cast, my friends and family, and then it had like a little bit of a pop on Amazon, and people that I went to high school with, because it's based on like a senior tradition from my high school. And so those are like the main audiences for it. But carrying on to Not Now, much smaller cast than Assassin. And so that promotion from the cast wasn't really there. And a lot of the main actors didn't really like promote the movie that much, which, is probably going to affect me working with them in the future. There's two, I won't name who, but they didn't post about it at all. I felt like a little offended by that. I don't know like if they disliked the movie or something like that. But so they didn't really draw the audience in as much as I'd hoped, but I had the full filmmaking community to back me up. And that's what drew a lot of, a good amount of my audience in with that. And then people who listen to like Mac DeMarco's music, which is a lot of the music from the films from Mac DeMarco, one of my favorite artists of all time. And I would say restaurant servers are a big part of the audience. And I just, I wanted to target, and people who live in College Station too.
Awesome.
I try to target all those audiences, built an Instagram page, Twitter page, all of that. And, made posts on Reddit, all over Facebook, that kind of stuff.
Yeah, so I have a question from Mohit Subedi, who is a huge fan of your film. He basically wanted to ask, how did you manage such a large scale of people of working with, I'm going to rephrase this. How did you manage working with such a large scale of people? And how did you manage so many people at once as a director?
Yeah, I feel like I've always had like a natural leadership quality. I've done leadership positions at jobs and in school, and especially like in filmmaking. I think I kind of really developed my skills as a one. But I think I like to have like a mutual respect for everybody on set. I don't think anyone's below me. I have honestly, I don't think that thought's even crossed my mind that like an extra is worth less than anybody else on set. I've been on a few sets and people I've worked as minor characters, and the director treats me terribly. I'm just like, who? We're all equal here. We all playing a part. I get that this is your vision, but you're not gonna talk down to me. And I make sure I don't talk down to anybody on set. I don't treat anyone unequally. And I think that plays in you give the respect and you receive that back from a lot of people. And I feel like that, and then having that unified vision. And that passion, and I think people want to jump on board and they'll listen to you and they'll do what you want because they know that they're being a part of something that's special. And I think that's a really big thing on getting a large group of people, especially on Assassin. I'm not I'm not a big guy. I'm not an intimidating person. I don't have a super deep voice or a big body or anything like that. So I don't naturally get attention or command respect naturally. But when I was on Assassin, and especially Adrenaline, that big party scene, I think I sent you the rough cut.
Yeah.
Or I opened with the party scene for the Adrenaline. There was 40 people there that day, and it was really interesting to see everyone was paying attention. And I think it's just because I knew what I wanted, and I wanted to make something special, and everyone was on board for that. I think that's how you get that a large group of people on set to follow your vision.
Yeah, for sure. I really liked the part where you said that working on other sets and seeing how the director treated you. For me personally, I have that as well, where I go on a set and it's a terrible experience, but it's also a great learning experience because I just know how I want to behave as a director and viewing that as a third person. I had a very specific question that's next, which is basically, ever since I've watched your movie, there's that tagline, if not now, when? And ever since I've watched the film, I've just been seeing that everywhere. I watched Before Sunset, Before Sunrise, Before Sunset, one of those movies, and it has that dialogue. There's another movie that I watched. Is there something that inspired that specifically, or was that just
So the phrase "not now" is specific words from a girl that I used to like back when I worked with Star Cinema Girl.
Mm.
And so that's what kind of like the movie's based on. Whenever I asked her out, she told me not now.
Mm.
And that kind of, carried into the movie. That was kind of like the direct inspiration for the title. And I think what's going to happen is I'm going to have another cut of Not Now. It's going to be in 4K, and I'm going to remove, that's going to be... I haven't fully decided which aspect ratio it's going to be, but it's going to be not as wide. And so if you've seen, like, the aspect ratio changes in Not Now,
yeah.
I think I'm just, instead of having it change, I'm just going to have it just be, like, completely open the entire time. I don't know what aspect ratio it was. I forgot. But
I think it was like 16 by 9.
Probably.
Yeah. Or 1.83. Yeah. Anyways, continue.
Yeah. And I think at the very end, I'm going to have, like, the words, have Noah say, like, if not now, then when. But that phrase is always just kind of, like, since those events happened to me in real life, I've always just thought, like, when is it going to happen? And I think not now is that representation of it. I think I have to, like, make something that's kind of like a counterpiece to not now of it's not going to happen. You have to, like, lower your expectations or even that, but you have to, like, learn how to move on. I think I have to make, like, not a sequel to Not Now, but, something with, like, similar thematic elements.
Yeah.
But that phrase is always just, like, it's always, like, been something for me.
Yeah, and clearly it's very universal because I've been seeing it, like, pop up everywhere, and I've been dying to know the answer. So what does Not Now mean to you? We've talked a lot about, like, the inspiration behind it, how it's related to your life, but, like, overall, why did you make this movie?
I think how I see Not Now is kind of like a letter to myself 4 years ago. I think I had a lot of, like, misconceptions. The most obvious thing is about, like, dating and relationships. I had a lot of misconceptions about that. But even Not Now, like, it started off with that, but it became more about, like, just my life in general, my relationship with college. And I think it's just kind of like to, tell people who are in a similar situation to me to kind of, like, find your path, find what you love, and focus on that. And then, relationships will come after that. I think I was still relationship focused when I was younger, and I think it kind of messed with my life, and it messed with how I was focusing on going forward, and messed with my passion, messed with filmmaking, and other things that I loved. And I think now that I'm, less trying to find that, I not so super recently, but I just, got a relationship about, like, 6 months ago or so, and I think ever since then, Not Now has taken even more of a meaning for me. It's kind of like, finding myself, and going forward with my life and progressing and, having those relationships become an accessory with it rather than a focus.
Yeah, for sure. So if there's one piece of advice from your experience directing your 3 films and the 20 minutes or 40 minutes or 20 minutes of adrenaline and everything you've done as a filmmaker, and there's one piece of advice you can give me before I make my next film, what would it be?
It's a very good question. I have, like, a lot of tidbits. Like, obviously, we were talking about the audio earlier. I think that's, like, a big... And even just, like, sound design in general. It's not even just having good quality audio, but using sound design as a tool is something that I would like to, experiment more with on just myself. And that would just be, like, a big word of advice. And then also really just... I would say, making, like, a preview scene beforehand, kind of just, like, to figure out, what that visual style is going to be, because a lot of the problems that I had, I wouldn't say like a problem, but, something that I struggled with was figuring out my visual style for the film, for Assassin, for Not Now, even Mountain Melancholy. You can kind of see, like, in certain parts, if you look, like, chronologically how it was filmed, like, the visual style changes a little bit because I experiment and realize what I like more. So I think, getting that over that experimental phase of what's going to be the visual style of this film a little bit beforehand with test footage is going to be, like, pretty key in figuring out just, like, your voice.
Yeah, interesting. So if you had to recommend one book, movie, TV show, anything, what would it be? What's, like, one, like, hidden gem that not enough people have seen?
Not enough people have seen. I would say for me, for adrenaline's sake, Brick by Ryan Johnson.
Okay,
It's such
awesome.
an underrated hidden gem.
Amazing.
I would say it's getting more popular now, but like when I first heard about it, like it was just off the radar. That was before like Ryan Johnson directed or released The Last Jedi, so
Yeah.
he wasn't as much of a household name as he is now. And Brick was just like this
Yeah.
movie that people like barely like heard of. It was very rarely talked about on Twitter, and I was like, wow, this
Yeah.
is amazing. Like, why do people not know about this?
Did you find it
there's
by
another-
the Chris Stuckman review?
No, I didn't. But that was the first
That's
thing
how
I
I
watched
found it,
after
yeah.
watching Brick.
Yeah.
I just saw like someone posted like a still from it on Twitter, and I switched like, what movie is this? Brick,
Yeah.
directed by Ryan Johnson. It's a low budget indie film.
Absolutely.
I have
And the
to check
amazing
this
thing
out.
about that movie is like we can make that movie, you know? It's not
Yeah.
there's not a lot of pieces involved. Like it's on the same scale as one of your films. So
Yeah, that's why I think it's so inspiring. It's just like he made something this amazing and this like, riveting and exciting with such a low budget.
yeah.
And especially back then when like the resources weren't as widely available as they are now, and it's just like, wow, he made something really special that is one of my favorite films ever with such a low budget. Like I want to do something like who inspires the next generation of filmmakers.
Yeah, absolutely. So what's next for Ethan Steppen?
As of right now, it's full send on Adrenaline. That is kind of, I feel like that's going to be like the film that kind of defines at least like this phase of my filmmaking career, like the really like low budget DIY era. Is I think I've kind of figured out what my style is and what I want from it. I already filmed 25% of it before. I'm gonna refilm all of that, but I think I've kind of like understand where I'm going with it, and I kind of understand storytelling a lot better. Not perfectly, but it's definitely an improvement from my previous films, and accumulating all these lessons. And I think I'm ready to make something really special with Adrenaline.
Awesome, man. I can't wait. So where can everyone find you online and the links and everything? I'll have them in the description, but just say them once.
So my Instagram is Ethan Stevens Films, and that's where you're gonna find like pretty much just it's like my personal account, but it's also like I post promote a lot of my films on there. And then I also have Instagram Progressing Productions, and then Not Now Movie. Those are my Instagram links. And then Twitter, it's Not Now Film, the Ethan Stevens, but the and Ethan share an E because there's a character limit on the username. And then I also have Progressing Productions on Twitter too. And those are like my main social media accounts that I would say to find me. And then my YouTube channel is Progressing Productions. You can find Assassin and Not Now there. And pretty much a lot of my future work, I don't know exactly where Adrenaline's headed. I don't know if it's going to be like the YouTube route. I'm still deciding that. But at least the trailer is going to be on there, and behind the scenes footage and that kind of stuff. So if you want to keep up with future Ethan Stevens projects, actually it's youtube.com/c/Progressing Productions, but now it's called Ethan Stevens because I wanted to like represent me more rather than a production company that I put everything under.
Yeah, awesome. And we're done.